Hey there, Pepper people. My name is Jason. I'm a registered polysomnographic technologist, and I want to talk about insomnia. I was thinking about insomnia because I had a client through my website, AXG Sleep Diagnostics. I was doing a PAP therapy analysis, and they were mentioning that they had this chronic insomnia problem. And in looking at their data, I was like, man, this would make such a good video. I swear, though, I have done a video of this in the past. And in fact, I had done a video on this in the past, like 2013, practically when I started. Now, recently I've come to appreciate old videos are frickin' gold. Now, I'm gonna let old Jason kind of fill you in on the different types of insomnia, but I do just have to say, the video was not well watched, and for good reason, but goddamn, I'm good. There's some really good information in here.
So, first of all, there's transient insomnia. Transient insomnia is when you have a difficulty in initiating and maintaining sleep for usually under a week or so.
Excuse me, Jason. Do you have a pulse in this video?
And these typically are times where there's just a change in the environment and maybe a little bit of stress, and then it goes away. The next is acute insomnia.
Excuse me, Jason. That reminds me. If someone tells you to look up acute angina on the internet, just make sure you spell it right.
And this is typically called stress-related insomnia. And this usually lasts about a month or less. Oftentimes there's some major stressor. I had this happen to me where there was just major stress in my head at night. I'd be tired all day.
Now, what I mean by this is I actually had a batshit crazy tenant, and I was a brand new landlord. It was not a pretty sight.
Basically fall asleep trying to think of all the possible scenarios and how to solve each one of them should they come up. So this, took me a month to get over this, or actually it was about 3 weeks. It took me about 3 weeks to get over it. And there's chronic insomnia. Chronic insomnia is, lasts a month or longer, often years, and typically there's something underlying with this that you should absolutely seek medical attention for. Most often it's undiagnosed sleep apnea or undiagnosed upper airway resistance syndrome, which is a lesser degree of that. It could be, any type of sleep disorder, breathing or a sleep disorder. Best thing to do is check with a sleep specialist about this and get an evaluation.
And that's just it. I want to talk about chronic insomnia. Now, the other two insomnias can be cured by watching that old video or really any of the other old videos that I had. God dang, those are dry. And sadly, more in line with my actual personality in real life. So chronic insomnia is really what I want to talk to you about. So two different populations of people. One are the undiagnosed. So maybe you're in this class. You've never been diagnosed with sleep apnea. You go into a sleep lab or you have a home sleep test. And what happens? Nothing. You don't have any apneas and you don't have any hypopneas. So your AHI is nothing. And if they didn't score respiratory effort related arousals, you don't even have an RDI, which is a respiratory disturbance index. You have nothing, they say you're clear, and you go the rest of your life, or probably another decade or two, thinking that you have nothing and I don't know why I'm so tired, or I don't know why I can't sleep. I'm awake all the time, I never fall asleep. When in reality, it could be that you're falling asleep, you just are waking up from a very subtle sleep disordered breathing event known as a respiratory effort related arousal. I'll show you those in just a minute. So that's one camp. Or you go into an in-lab study and you have this exact same scenario. You go to an in-lab study and you're like, wow, this should be the best of the best. It's a type 1 in-lab. I have a tech here watching me. I'm even going to some prestigious sleep disorders clinic, and same thing happens. They don't look at respiratory effort related arousals. So you have this very mild sleep disorder breathing and they're just like, hey, either we don't see it or we don't recognize it, and so it's not going to show up on your report. You don't get a CPAP machine. And again, you're suffering, thinking you're either not falling asleep or you're waking up all the time and can't initiate or maintain sleep. So what do you do in these situations? I'll tell you in a bit. The other scenario is you're already on CPAP or bi-level or whatever. And you're gonna have the exact same thing happen, except in this case, you're looking at your sleep machine report, your reported AHI, and your doctor's telling you, I don't know why you're so tired. I don't know why you can't sleep or stay asleep because your numbers look so good. And your machine reports that everything looks so good. I'm not having apneas or hypopneas. That is true. but you're still having those respiratory effort related arousals, even though you're being treated for some other thing, likely apneas and hypopneas. What does this look like in practice? Here's some waves. Let's take a quick dive into it. Now, I want to preface this with, you have to get into the weeds a little bit. I had someone online complaining, I don't want to think about this. It's just too much. I can't take it. Oh, why do I have to learn about it? You don't have to learn about it, but you're sure as shit not going to fix it if you don't jump into the weeds a little bit. And that's what I want to do right now. Let's jump into the weeds. Let's see what this looks like, so you know if it's something that's going on with you if you're using PAP therapy. Now, before we take a look at this data, I do want to say thank you to the sponsor of this video, that is CPAPsupplies.com. Now, if you've been watching these videos for any length of time, you know you can get masks and accessories at CPAPsupplies.com for much, much less. And that's because we have discount code LeftySummer.
But guess what?
Summer's going away, and so is that code. So you have until September 22nd until that code goes bye-bye. So if you're looking at a mask, you're like, man, I got me a hankering for that whatever mask, or I want to get myself a hurricane dryer, you can go to cpapsupplies.com, use discount code LeftySummer, save 25% off your order. So whatever it is you're interested in, you can close out the official end of summer by getting some great masks or accessories for a discounted price at cpapsupplies.com. Okay. Sync audio. Boom, boom. All right, I'm using a program called Sleep HQ here. Now, there's a couple of programs you can use. One is called Oscar. You can get that at sleepfiles.com/Oscar. That is just on your computer. Sleep HQ is different in that you can actually share it with people from really wherever. It's all web-based. Really a pretty slick program. Personally, I'm not like trying to bash Sleep HQ. I like Oscar better for personal use. There's a lot more data there that you can manipulate and set up and view quickly. Sleep HQ, if you want to share this with someone, is literally the only way to do it. Like, Sleep HQ is great. You can share it with anyone. You can do quick links. You can let people see everything. Anyway, that's it. You can get a free account though, sleephq.com. Just wanted to shout them out real quick. Okay, so this person has, they've been kind of rocking this pressure for a while. It's a pretty high pressure, but their main complaint was insomnia. They're like, I can't sleep. I can't stay asleep. I just feel like I never sleep. I have insomnia. So in looking at their data, it just stood out. Every day is pretty much the same. Their leak rate is non-existent. There's nothing there, so it's not leak related. It's purely pressure, possibly mode of therapy. But let's take a dive into this area right here for really no other reason. And we can really quickly see that there's a lot of these spikes popping up. Those spikes, every single one of them is going to be an awakening. And why are they awakening? Well, if we look at what happens prior to each of these spikes, we're going to notice that there is a lot of flat waves in there. See how flat those are? That's not a full breath. Therefore, you're under breathing. And then if I zoom back out, you're under breathe long enough, you're going to want to take a deep breath in, and that's where you're waking up. It's really as simple as that. So we just simply know the pressure's not right. There's these very subtle sleep disordered breathing events. If I look at the AHI overall, it is 1.24. So this feeds into what I was just telling you. There's no apneas, there's no hypopneas. And then the ones that they report are going to be BS. I can already tell you that. But there's not millions, but hundreds of these other subtle events that devastate your sleep just as much. So either you feel like you're waking up all the time because you are, or you feel like you're never ever falling asleep. Insomnia, the feeling of insomnia is so pervasive in sleep disorders, people with sleep disorders, but it is so misdiagnosed in that it is usually sleep disordered breathing. So just wanted to show you that. We can scroll through this and you're gonna get a feel for how much this person is waking up, every single one of these. Okay, so what do you do about this? That's always a question. What the heck are you supposed to do about this? Okay, it's simple. If you have CPAP already, and you see these respiratory effort related arousals and you're like, man, I have insomnia, and you see all these little spikes, the simple thing to do is just increase the pressure. Increase the pressure. You want to toy around with the EPR setting. If you don't have it on, maybe turn it on. If you already have it on, maybe increase the pressure, turn it off. See what balance works best for you. And if you get to the point where you just simply can't tolerate it anymore, the best solution is probably going to be a bi-level machine. It's just much more effective and efficient in how it delivers that inspiratory pressure. opening up your airway and making those stubborn respiratory effort or related arousals go away. That's what you do there. Okay, now if you have never been diagnosed with anything and you've already gone in for a sleep study and they're like, no, you don't have anything, the thing to do is before you even go in for a study, ask if they look for respiratory effort related arousals. If they do, that is always a good sign. If they look for them and they know they recognize it, and ask if they're the people who read their studies, you want to ask if they actually diagnose people with upper airway resistance syndrome. That's also a really good sign. If they're like, what is that? I have no idea. Probably don't go to that place because they're not really, in this case, getting into the weeds of your data, and it's not in your best interest if they're not doing that. Now, if they send you home with a home sleep test, you're screwed. Like, you're screwed. You can't score respiratory effort related arousals using a home sleep study. So that's not gonna happen. With the exception of, I actually do have my type 2 home sleep study through axgsleepdiagnostics.com. It does look for respiratory effort related arousals. My doctor does score, or he does diagnose people with upper airway resistance syndrome. So there is that option. Or the other option is you've gone in for all the testing and you're like, okay, no one does this. I swear I have insomnia. I know I feel myself choking. Maybe I snore slightly. You can always get yourself through Craigslist or Facebook Marketplace. You can get yourself a machine and see if it makes a difference or not. A lot of people go this route. They know there's something there. They feel their breathing is slightly subpar. And so they go ahead and they get themselves a machine, they get themselves masks, and they actually auto-titrate themselves at home. I feel like I said that wrong. Auto-titrate, there we go. Themselves at home. And that works pretty well. But the major takeaway from this video is if you feel like you have insomnia and that's your only problem and you've had it for a really long period of time, so anywhere from like 2 months and beyond, this is probably chronic insomnia, and it's probably caused by some sleep disordered breathing event that has yet been undetected. Now, if you're already using CPAP and you're kind of like, I have no idea what to look for, check out my services at axgsleepdiagnostics.com. Oh, by the way, your mask probably stinks, so you want to get some Mask Bright at amazon.com, my product. And other than that, thank you so much for watching. Check out some of my older videos if you're having a hard time sleeping, because gosh dang, those are dry. Bye. And time for an extra thick thanks, buddy, to my top level supporters: Doug Toombs, Jason Georgiades, Patricia Espelong, Stuart Hetherington, Alan Liu, Edward Steiner, and I'd like to say thank you also to these people, as well as those other people. Up the ante, you get a shout out. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye. Barely even on screen, but still appreciate the support.